everyone, Danielle here with Blissful Life. That's the name of my company, by the way. Blissful Life Coaching. And I am here with Cameron.
Yeah.
And Cameron, tell us about Kava Plex and what Kava oil is, and tell us about what you just take it from here.
Yeah. So kava is it's a South Pacific shrub, or it's a shrub-like plant that grows specifically in islands in the South Pacific, like Fiji and an island chain called Vanuatu, Tonga, Hawaii, islands like that. And it grows in a very specific climate. It's actually a bush in the pepper family, or shrub in the pepper family, and it's
so like bell peppers, like you.
Well, actually, in black pepper. Yeah, like black
okay.
pepper. Like it's actually from the genus Piper.
Okay, so, but like our bell peppers. That's where I guess I was going with. Like our bell peppers would...
Well, it's like black table pepper, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, so it's from the genus Piper, right?
Okay.
So like black table pepper, like salt and pepper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since you put on that's like Piper nigrum, and this is Piper methysticum, so it's a different species in there, but it's actually, Piper methysticum actually means intoxicating pepper, meaning that's, intoxicating actually in a good way, the native people, have seen it as. But so, kava is one of these things that, in these cultures in the South Pacific has been used as a ceremonial agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been used, for, spiritual and religious ceremonies. It's been used for weddings and funerals, and they drink it for basically all events, in a similar way that we consume alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So it's known mainly for its stress relieving properties. Like I said, it's known to be, sort of like alcohol without the drunkenness, addiction, and toxicity, right? And, there are different dilutions and, different ways that you can prepare it, but it generally is prepared as a drink. So it's, you take the indigenous people will take the dried roots and they'll macerate them down into a powder and put them in a strainer bag and knead it in a bowl of water for 20 to 30 minutes, and it releases this oil that's called the kava lactones. It contains
so it's like
these compounds.
a hand distillery.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So they're kneading this stuff out into the water, and they're making this drink, and the drink is actually, it's very, it actually kind of has a peppery type of taste to it, and some people have to really get used to the taste. The indigenous people love it because they've acquired the taste for it, but it looks like dirty water. Mm-hmm. So, to some people, it's hard to get used to in that form. In the United States, a lot of people have heard the term kava. They go to their health food store and they've seen products that are labeled kava. And
but you were telling me that
exactly,
it's not.
Right. It's
not
real
giving
kava.
the effect that you need.
Yeah. So it actually is not real kava. It's like we can't take caffeine and put it in a pill and sell it at a gas station and call it coffee, right? It's something different at that point. When you start isolating a compound or using like a solvent, to pull out just one or two constituents or a few of the constituents and deliver it in a form, right? And that's kind of what we have here with kava. These capsules that people are buying at health food stores or that are available, almost all of them, if not all of them, are extracted with solvents, which are compounds like alcohol.
Yeah.
Where they pull out just a few constituents. And whenever you prepare it traditionally, it brings out this whole complex of active medicine, these kava lactones, but also enzymes and a lot of different supportive constituents that, just like many plant medicines, they work together in the body to bring out its full effects.
Yes.
So basically, whenever you create these products where you extract with these solvents, you end up with something that has a fraction of the medicinal plant's actual capabilities, right?
Yes. So if you're an oiler, you're kidding.
Right. And so people who seek kava, they seek it for its anxiety relieving properties and to enhance sleep and such. But whenever you buy it in those forms, it's not that much different than just like chamomile tea. So, a lot of people don't think that it's anything special, but whenever you drink it, if you actually order the actual root powder and prepare it at home on the strainer bag, and if you get good strains, that's a whole other thing too.
Yeah, because you said there's many varieties.
Many varieties. Some that are actually not so well consumed, that can give some side effects. Some that may not even be safe to long term, consume.
You're using the root versus stems and leaves. And
well, no, exactly. Yeah. Right. So there's parts of the plant. So there's many safety and quality precautions that you want to take. But even if someone wants to buy and they do get good quality root, they still have to prepare it to get those actual effects. And so the effects that you would expect from the traditional drink on top of just a little bit of anxiety relief is, well, more anxiety relief, but you'll also get an enhancement in sociability, similar to alcohol, but instead of like impairing your
Being
function.
stupid, stupid social.
Right.
You're
Exactly.
Aware social.
Instead of inducing more of sort of like a primitive behavior set, right, where it actually brings out more of your actual personality. And it's known that, people, it brings out empathy. It brings out very deep, interesting conversation. In the islands, they actually have kava bars, and they have 10 or 20 times as many kava bars as they have regular bars.
Bucket list.
Exactly, because they prefer the effects of kava over alcohol because they know that it's this safe alternative. It's medicinal.
Yeah.
So you get those effects, and with certain strains of kava, you actually get cognitive enhancement, like nootropic, like a calm focus that's non-jittery. So people can function and get things done with this very non-addictive substance. It's less addictive than coffee because it's non-addictive. So it's some really amazing stuff when taking that form. The problem with taking that form is, one, the preparation. So you have to order it, you have to prepare it. It's really messy. You have to dispose of it, and you end up with this drink that a lot of people are not so fond of the taste and not so fond of consuming regularly if they can tolerate it every once in a while. They love the effects but don't get it. So what we tried to do was to capture the effects of traditional kava in a product that you can take that's palatable and that's just ready to go and ready to take.
And I did try this yesterday. I actually had 2 servings because we're not sleeping. We're at a conference.
Yeah.
We're dead tired, but we're so amped up. And you were saying you're going to get really clear. You're going to get really clear for a while, and then be able to function. And then there was I feel I felt it in bed. I was just laying there. I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm going to go to sleep now.
Right. Yeah. And it's dose dependent, and obviously you can take higher dosages for more effects.
But the taste, I was like, when I read your brochure, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this taste, but I actually enjoyed it because it's in sunflower oil.
Yeah, it's not so bad, and we're gonna be actually creating some oils with pumpkin seed and some ones that actually bring out
the benefits of pumpkin seeds are good too.
Exactly, yeah. So we're going to be mixing it with a lot of medicinal seed oils that actually bring a good taste to it too. And so a lot of the, when we mentioned quality and safety precautions that you take with kava too. So aside from just making it easier to take, the reason why the company is called Noble Roots, the reason is because the 2 main quality and safety precautions that one needs to take for safe and effective kava consumption. One, it's best to seek out a certain class of varieties, right? Just like people get into medical cannabis or anything. There's all these different strains. And,
so if you know the difference between marijuana versus the hemp that is used in CBD oil, yes, that would be a good comparison.
Yes, and also even within, if you say the marijuana category, within there's a lot of strains.
Oh, there's
that have
300,
different effects.
I think, right?
Some that are more daytime strains, some that are more nighttime strains. But marijuana as a whole, brings about impairment to some degree and needs to be in a place where it's some caution needs to be taken.
Yeah.
Of course, right? So with kava though, it doesn't have any of those, but there's still the same variation in strains, and then there are some varieties that you need to take more caution with as far as daily consumption because they have certain characteristics, that compounds that are harder to digest and break down, and things, and so this certain class of varieties are called noble in the islands. That's what the classification is, right? And they have to meet a certain chemical composition in order to be classified as noble, and that means high in certain kava lactones, low in other kava lactones, and low in other constituents that are hard to digest and break down. So they give very smooth effects that people can drink regularly without side effects, okay? So, noble varieties is that first thing. And so we have 100% certified noble varieties that we make our oil with. The other thing is that you want to make sure that you're getting 100% root material, because just like many plants, like if you've ever had a rhubarb pie or something, there are parts of the rhubarb, are toxic. There are, there's traces of cyanide in apple seeds, right? I mean, there's parts of certain plants that you shouldn't consume, especially in certain amounts, because plants, produce a natural defense toxin in many cases to defend themselves from plants. So with kava, the above ground portion of the plant, the shrub part, the stems and the leaves, have alkaloids, these little chemicals that are supposed to ward off pests. And a lot of unscrupulous, some farmers, well, let's put it this way, in the South Pacific, those are supposed to be waste products, and you're only supposed to use the roots that contain none of those things. But they'll mix in leaves and stems because they also have kavalactones in them, but then they have the toxic compounds too. And this actually led to some problems, if anyone's researched kava, back 20 years ago, where there was an assertion that there's a correlation between kava and liver toxicity, which turned out not to be true if you follow these quality standards, right? It was, very poorly done and heavily publicized. But following these quality standards, the indigenous people have drank kava every day.
Yeah, you have to look at it like
thousands of years without problem.
How did they survive for all these years without issue?
And then one pharmaceutical company comes along and thinks they know what they're doing, creates a product that actually is more like the caffeine pill, not the coffee, right?
Correct.
Is a shade of what kava is, and then you end up with these problems, right? So so you want to make sure that you get noble varieties. In most cases, there are some other varieties that you can drink, but not daily, right? And then you want to be getting 100% root material. And on top of that, we test our product because it is a tropical plant. It can grow mold, and some farmers will leave a lot of dampness in the plant to increase the weight, right?
Yeah.
Which creates mold, which creates mycotoxins.
It's all about this. So that's why you have to be. It's all about this.
Yeah.
So when it's generally when it's a more expensive item, then we know we're putting those tests because the cost of testing is a lot more expensive. So as a consumer, you do want to pay for that. I'm looking at economic reasoning why you need to not buy the cheapest thing on the market, or like you said, you can go to the herb store and not know what you're getting.
And kava is one of those that there's multiple points of failure where you can mess up the whole thing if you don't take these precautions, right? And if you do take the precautions, then you end up with something that has a tremendous amount of therapeutic benefit with very little potential for any negative side effects whatsoever. So we test every batch of kava that we get in for heavy metals, mold, and mycotoxins, which no one else in the market is doing. So these are the toxins produced by mold. And then we also have it tested and certified that it is noble. And what we end up with is a highly refined oil that has the benefits of traditional kava and the purity of a well lab tested and grown kava in a really practical product that actually delivers those extra effects, the nootropic effects, the mood lifting effects, and some of those other things. And then there are many other effects too on our website that we talk about that kava has been studied for, and some really, really, just like hemp and CBD, have a lot of other effects on the immune system, on metabolism, on appetite suppression. And, so there's a lot with kava there. So
I think it's amazing that you're testing. I love the idea of this product. Would you say you're like kind of the forerunner in the industry, or?
Well, there have been some companies that, I've
what
become
got you
friends.
Started on this?
So what got me started on this was that I was...
obviously you're passionate about making a clean product and making sure it's exactly what the consumer is looking for.
Right. I got into it because I was sick. I had some unexplainable symptoms that turned into a full-blown autoimmune catastrophe, basically, right? And it turned out a lot of it came from actually a mold exposure and then some medications that I was put on, reactions to those. And it was a bunch of different toxic exposures that led me to becoming chronically ill. And then I had to go on this whole odyssey of trying to find doctors, physicians, and researchers, scientists that could give me, a set of strategies that could help me get my life back, my health back. And, during the process, I ended up, there was an autoimmune situation going on, obviously, and there was, I ended up starting to have seizures and reactions to things in my environment and things, and ended up on heavy doses of anti-anxiety drugs or anti-seizure medications, benzodiazepines and anti-seizure medications, just to control them. It's like we couldn't stop them. Yeah. So I was obviously looking. I had already been interested in researching into medicinal plants before, tried hemp and CBD, didn't get much off it, even though I love hemp and CBD. And I was just looking for, natural plants that gave similar effects on the nervous system that were non-addictive, right? Two anti-anxiety and anti-seizure drugs. So
Yeah.
neuroprotective that reduce excitabilities, stopping seizures. And I wasn't expecting much, but I said, okay, I'll take another look at Kava since there seems to be buzz about it and people are telling me this and that. So I investigated it and found all the things that we just discussed and started experimenting and noticed that there was a massive variation in quality and effects and even Kava that I was getting that I would prepare traditionally. So, but once I started using it, it was absolutely phenomenal. It surpassed all my expectations like crazy. You know, within 4 or 5 months, I was off all of those medications.
That's
in
awesome to
in my
hear.
experience.
Yeah.
And I've seen that actually with other people who choose to, you know, to try to go that road too. And it was amazing. I mean, I hadn't seen anything like it, and it turned on my brain that was really struggling during that period of time. And it seemed to have a host of different other effects, you know, from you know, I was trying to get into more of like a ketogenic diet to reduce sugar, and it reduced my sugar cravings, suppressed my appetite.
Oh, interesting.
We know now from the literature that it has mechanisms that can increase fat burning and you know, processes in the body. It's actually been looked at for, you know, support in against many forms of cancer. That's not making any claims or anything.
Yeah, no
around
claims
that.
here.
No, of course not. But you know, this is what the literature, and this is not this product.
Literature,
right.
Yeah,
the literature, the scientific community is
Yeah.
looking at Kava preparations, you know, in support and some of those things. And there's some interesting research there that people can, you know, look online and find out more information on where that research is going. Just like we have that with cannabis too, you know. So it's one of these multi-layered, sort of multi-therapeutic plant compounds, but where it's most profound is its neuroprotective ability and its anxiety and stress relieving properties. And over time, when I took it, sleep got better and better, you know, anxiety got better and better. I was doing other things, but as an acute therapeutic agent to relieve symptoms, I mean, you know, it was amazing.
So does it have any detoxing effects in the body? Like you said, you had a mold issue.
Right, and see, I was
Is there
working.
any studies on that?
Yes, actually there are.
Okay.
In assisting, but
And
for
assisting
me,
to detox something from the body.
and you know, and for me, it's not like I was only doing Kava and that's what got me well. Kava is a tremendous tool that I use, and it was one that was well above, as far as a single thing that delivered that much of a therapeutic effect. It's amazing. I was working with a network of doctors who I work with now and develop products for, who teach a system for true cellular detox is what they call it, and it's a system of you know, approaching detoxification in a very comprehensive way from the cell and to escort toxins safely out of the body. And I was doing that along with good dietary protocols and diet variation and in targeted types of fasting, partial fasting, and these kind of things, along with some other sort of regenerative medicine treatments. So I was doing a lot together. But, you know, Kava sort of gave me that leverage and calm my system down enough and was able to reduce my sensitivities to where I could tolerate some of these things and start sleeping, you know. So,
well, and it is a multifaceted approach, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly,
It happens, Dr. POMPAS said it the other day, it took you years to get here. It's not going to take you months to be solved.
Yeah,
So.
and what we're talking about here is just an amazing tool that can help a smoother transition for people that are unwell, or just the average person who wants to feel good. It's a nootropic too, right? Even a healthy people, they really like to take it for its creativity enhancing effects. It turns on the brain, but then it's like a relaxed focus, like an alpha state, more so than like, you know, stimulants that can make you jittery and sort of put you all over the place. But you asked about detoxification. It can assist in those things. It has an activating effect on a pathway in the body. I don't want to throw too much science out here for confusing, but there's a pathway that's called NRF2, and really what that means is it stimulates your body's own production of things like glutathione, which are like our natural cleansing agents, our street sweeper, our cleaner. And so we know that it has effects on those things, and it can support the body's ability to be able to detox, and it supports, you know, like I said before, when it had been studied for cancer, they had looked at a process called autophagy, which really just means it helps support the body's own natural ability to get old cell debris out of the way. So cells that aren't doing anything, they're just sort of sitting there. They need to be replaced or repaired with good healthy cells. And this supports pathways that help the body get into those states, just similar to what fasting does. fasting is sort of like a reset, a
Yes.
cleaning out. So there is some cleaning effects that it has or supports, along with other things, as well as just protecting from the damaging effects of stress. So it is overall what kava is in nature. It is a protective agent that whenever we ingest it, it shows and it's held up under the scrutiny of the scientific lens to have all of these different chemical mechanisms of protecting our body from the damaging effects of stress and helping our bodies be able to rehabilitate itself from a system that is too sympathetic dominant, right? And
Yes.
a lot of us are in that, right?
Yes, we are.
It's like, we need to do a lot of things to address that, but these are amazing tools that can help us sort of turn the tide and get leverage over a system that's gone out of control. So, that's what people
Awesome,
do.
awesome. So, your website is?
It's noblesrootskava.com.
And currently that's pretty much where the product's
Yes,
available.
yes.
'Cause
Right
it's-
now, this is our first product. We're
Yeah.
working on a line of shelf-stable drinks that are exactly traditional kava that have even more of a recreational kick. This one is a daily tonic. So look for those in the future. Also, we're constructing a separate website, which is not up yet, so I won't divulge that
Yeah.
yet. But just for, to understand, because we're very much advocates for kava as much as we are just trying to sell a product. So we're building out a website that's going to have all of the literature available on kava, and we'll have links to that on our other website and information going out on that whenever that gets put together too.
Yeah. So this is brand new, y'all. Like, brand
Yeah.
new. I was like,
So we kind of
what
see kava.
is this?
Oh,
And the first thing I asked your dad was, well, where's it being distributed? Where's your
Yeah.
where's your retail at?
What we think and believe, and where the market is heading, and where the integrated medical community is heading, we believe that the kava is the next CBD.
Yep.
In
We
the
talked
sense
about
of,
that
like,
yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So we really think that. And I'm not at all interested in creating a trend around something that doesn't provide value. I was sick myself, and this is something that I use all the time. And
That's
we really
generally
believe
how
in the
we
effects.
all end up in a journey.
Yeah,
'Cause,
exactly.
I mean, my passion is talking about preventative toxins in like mold.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I walk into a house and I'm like, you have mold issues, and they're like,
Yeah.
no, we don't. We clean with bleach, and I'm
And
like,
I'm-
oh no, So
Exactly.
yeah.
And I'm so meticulous at providing the best of the best, like, whether it be plant medicines, plant herbs, and things that actually provide the full effects of where they've gotten their reputation for, not something that is just riding on the reputation and then is cut down to be made cheaper and so on.
And unfortunately, I somebody's going to scorn me for this, but that's what we're finding in the CBD market. Because here in Tennessee, you can go like 2 blocks down to the gas station and buy some, which is interesting.
Exactly.
To me.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on.
But it's because we're from Ohio,
Right.
and you have to have a prescription. Well, as of last Thursday, the law changed. I will say I did not read the whole thing, but basically we were all being shut down if we sell CBD, and you can walk into a gas station in Tennessee. So what is that made out of? So yeah exactly. Like we talked about the testing, the purity, not watering it down. You're doing 3 parts of testing.
And there's actually a process when it comes to legislation. There is a process underway that the World Health Organization and their Alimentarius Committee is looking at adopting a world quality standard for kava, which is basically all of the quality standards that have been outlined that we use to make this product are the ones that are going to be the world quality standard to classify a product like this, or not necessarily a product like this, but just a product that has all of these safety precautions, classify that as a food. So we're looking for food status, like a food like coffee is a food, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So instead, meaning that it will be more versatile in a lot of ways as far as like where it's regulated and stuff. Now it's sold because in kava drinking countries, it's considered a food, right? Just like coffee is, and so as we're right now, it's used as a dietary supplement. We really think that full spectrum kava in its completely natural state, whereas its medicinal value, is more of a food product with tonic characteristics to it, So it's there's some really interesting stuff happening with it. Governments across the world that were originally scared by the whole unscrupulous liver toxicity
Yes.
situation are now overturning all of their bans that they had on it. And I mean, it wasn't illegal anywhere, but they had some sale bans in some
Yeah.
different countries. U.S. never, because the FDA knew that there wasn't substantial evidence. They just issued a disclaimer in which they're now updating and saying, okay, follow these quality
guidelines.
standards. As far as the individuals that I've talked to from the FDA, they're looking at it in a very similar way to how we're talking about it now. So that's where it's heading. So everyone's sort of trying to catch up, and we're just trying to set the industry standard for a real Kava product that actually provides value, that is safe, that you can trust. You know?
That's awesome. That's
So-
awesome. So I love it when an entrepreneur, because I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, since I've only had 2 paychecks that I didn't write myself.
Yeah.
So I love seeing an entrepreneur take their passion, their problem, and then solving other people's, hoping to solve other people's same problem and issue, and then you're making sure the steps are taken into place and working where you need to work to make it a safe product. So that's awesome.
It's the beauty of entrepreneurship,
Yep,
you know?
exactly. Well, thank you for taking
Absolutely,
the time. Again, Noble Roots, this is Danielle from Blissful Life, and this is Cameron from Noble Roots.
Noble Roots Kava, yeah.
Yeah, and check them out online. Thanks, guys.